right, good morning, everybody. Welcome into Baseball and Coffee. Let me try to adjust my camera here a little bit. That looks okay. It is 10 a.m. on Friday, November 21st. Wow, November 21st already. That happened quick. Kiké is going to pop on in like 15 minutes, so we'll mess around a little bit before that, and then after Kiké is done, we'll go through AL Central needs. That's what we're going to do today for the most part, but we'll bounce around for about 10 minutes, and I'll take a 5-minute break, get Enrique on here, and then we'll go through that for a little bit. Try to have a slightly less controversial show today. We'll see how that goes. That's the goal. So, thanks, Victoria, for appreciating the trees. We got tree number 1, tree number 2 as we continue to transition into holiday mode over here. But let's get started here today on a Friday, simulcast Friday. All right, here's our regular Lidom Dominican Winter League standings update. Mainly because I've been so fascinated by the early going here. Aguilas 17-3. That's just a record you don't see a lot in baseball. So we'll see if they are the juggernaut that they seem, but that's pretty cool. And then I thought we could start the day maybe by hitting a Sporkle a little bit, just to get the brain rolling a little bit. Need a baseball one. Let's see here. Let's do one of these minefields. 50 home run season minefield. Let's see how I do on that. All right. I'm sure some guys will be better than me at this, but all right, let's get started. All right, 50 home run guys. Bonds, Raleigh, Stanton, that's easy. Shohei. Maris, Luis Gonzalez, Babe Ruth, Ryan Howard, Jose Bautista, Chris Davis, A-Rod, Griffey, Pete Alonso, Big Mac, Prince Fielder for sure, Judge, Schwarber, Olsen. How many more do I need? 16 more? This is going to be tough. All right, who do I know for sure sit over 50 in this group? Big Papi? Yep, Sammy Sosa. Looking for some help in the chat here. I don't know if Manny ever hit a 50. I think Greg Vaughn might have randomly. I'm going to risk it all for Greg Vaughn right here. Well, first I know Mickey Mantle did it, so we'll put him in there. I'm going to risk it all for Greg Vaughn. That's correct. All right, 12 more left. Mays? Mays counts, yep. Hank Aaron, I don't believe ever hit 50. See, I think that's the tricky part of this question. All right, Jimmy Fox, we like from the chat, yep. What's the brewing coffee today? I have some Café Devocion. It's like a Women's Day special in here. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I have it in there, Mirasol or something. That's pretty good. Okay, Brady Anderson, Ralph Kiner. I already put Shohei in there, didn't I? But yeah, this is a couple shots of espresso. I don't know about Cecil Fielder. I'm not sure. I know Tulo didn't. This is tricky. I don't think Willie McCovey or Brooks Robinson or Hank Aaron. Let's try Teixeira. I lose. Dang it. All right. We did all right. We got 76% of them. Not bad. Can we try to let's try to retry that just because I'm curious about how do I hit play again? Replay. I'm curious if I'm pretty sure Hank Aaron never hit 50. Yeah, you click Hank Aaron, you lose right away. Tomei probably did. Good call. All right, well, that was our Sporkle for the day, and we can move on. Today is actually non-tender day, so you're going to see a lot of action today. There's been some early stuff, some early arbitration settling. Alex Jackson from the Orioles got sent over to the Twins. You see some teams that basically they come to the player ahead of the deadline today and they say, listen, we're going to non-tender you unless you want to work out a contract for a slightly less number that we're comfortable with before the deadline. And you see that from time to time. That happened yesterday. Connor Wong had a pre-tender deal yesterday. And then you see some teams that were probably going to non-tender, like Mauricio Dubon was probably going to get non-tendered because Houston's trying to slash a little payroll. he's a good player, but he's probably not, a stalwart in their lineup necessarily that they need going forward. So they go ahead and trade him to Nick Allen, who's making basically the league minimum, and that effectively works for both sides. The Braves they're comfortable with the Dubon salary for what they're going to have him doing, and Nick Allen goes back the other direction. Also, there was a couple official postings yesterday in Japan, Okamoto and Kona Takahashi. These are guys we knew that were getting posted, but they ended up getting posted yesterday. And so now you're going to see the Japanese guys. They have to go in the first month, otherwise that window closes. So we're going to see, some interesting stuff there with that. Now I am curious, since we're here, to go look at this Mauricio Dubon and Nick Allen situation, because look, Dubon makes about 5 or 6 times as much money as Nick Allen for a similar skill set, except he plays more positions and he's a slightly better hitter. Now, he's not a great hitter, as you can see by his ex-WOBA, but, 241, 644 OPS, I still think is a lot better than what Nick Allen was throwing out there. Now, really quick, though, look at the defense. 99th percentile, 20 outs above average, kind of as a utility guy. So he's providing infield defense and outfield defense now for the Braves. I kind of like this move by Anthopoulos. I also just like the way Anthopoulos kind of works under the radar. You don't hear anything from the Braves, and then bam, a move just happens. All right, so here's Nick Allen. Nick Allen, valuable guy because he's 99th percentile on fielding. But yeah, definitely a worse hitter than Dubon. 535 OPS. Pretty tough sell to have him playing every day if he can't get closer to 600 OPS. But anyway, that was the swap. That was kind of interesting. You see some of that, this time of year, basically contracts not matching up, looking for replacements in different lanes. And yeah, AA is always sneaky with his moves. And you know what? I can appreciate that. Seems to be very convicted on what he did. He also signed back Raciel Iglesias yesterday. One of my favorite pitchers, probably, I've talked about this before, probably the pitcher I was the most jealous of as my career progressed. I just felt like in a different trajectory, I could have been as good as this guy, but he was just better than me. And I was so impressed with him, and I wish I could have had as much freedom on the mound and as much, I don't know, he works different. I love watching Raciel pitch, but they bring him back. They're comfortable with him. $16 million is kind of the going rate for the 1-year deal on these super closers now. He qualifies. They know what he's bringing to the table. He had a weird year last year where he had to go on a run to get his ERA back in check, but he did. 3.21 in 70 games is fine with a 1 flat whip. I really like this guy. Great pitchability. He's basically a starter type pitch profiles that work in the bullpen. So just a very impressive dude. Not surprised that the Braves brought him back. They don't want to be in the multi-year business, I don't think. But yeah, pretty dang good. Iglesias has never been an all-star, which seems crazy. Yeah, join the club. Join the club. Many-time snub of all-star Raciel Iglesias, which is crazy for me to say. He's never been an all-star? I find that hard to believe. He's that good, so let's do a double check on that. Yeah, wow, 0 stars in that column. You're right. That's unbelievable. With a career 2.9 in 600 games. Had some big save years too, right? Had a 34 twice, 3 times, 334 save years. So, I don't know. Just a big fan of this guy. I'm a big fan of the way AA kind of works over there in Atlanta, honestly. I mean, we'll see how it all works out, but largely in our NL East off-season primer that we did the other day, I said if I was the Braves, I'd largely run it back, just make a few moves. I believe that they have too much talent to stink like they did last year. That's my personal opinion. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, Mitch, that was a lot of blue on both of those hitting profiles from Dubon and Allen. Not good. Not good. But like I said, they're providing value in other ways. It's crazy because back in the day, those dudes would have never seen the field when they were hitting that weekly. But now they are, because we understand defense a little bit better than we did before and how that manifests itself in winning. All right, what else we got here? This is another good question. Seager getting traded. That's been speculated since yesterday. I don't have a lot of time because I gotta hop off here in a minute before I get Kiké going here. But real quick, I mean, only 380 at bats and he puts up 6.2 WAR. I mean, dude, every team should want this guy. I know he's making a lot of money, but he's been incredible. I mean, when's the last time he didn't hit? I guess his first year in Texas, 2022. with the 772 OPS. So that's as bad as it can get. Still 3.8 WAR player. Other than that, he's been absolutely stellar. World Series winning year, 23 with 1,000 OPS. Last year, 864. This year, 860. I mentioned he had 900s before that. He's just a great player. I think every team should be in on him. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Yankees in on him if they're serious about moving him. Maybe the Dodgers jump back in there. I don't know. Then you'd have to maybe move Mookie back out. I don't see that necessarily happening, but I don't know. I mean, let's look at these percentile rankings on Corey Seager. What a freaking stud. What a stud. And I remember I got him out one time on something that made no sense. So I'm going to pop that up real quick here. This is going to be funny to see. Texas versus the Mets. This was a day game. I want to say 2022. Yeah, it's this one. All right, Corey Seager lines out sharply to center on the first pitch. He hit this ball 105.8 at 22, and it goes absolutely nowhere because of some sort of weird spin off the bat. Look at this ball, just kind of dies right to my guy Nims. I mean, he's looking at the exit velo right here, thinking, man, I smacked that ball. I was thinking, man, he smacked that ball. And yet I got a one pitch out, which was kind of funny. But I wonder if I had a reaction watching this ball. I played it pretty stoic. But overall, yeah, I was a little shook for sure. He's a tough at bat. He also whacked a homer off me in Vince Scully's last day with the Dodgers. Actually tied the game. Dodgers ended up clinching that day. Later in the day on a Charlie Culberson home run off Boone Logan. That was one of the loudest crowds I ever heard, but I gave up that. I had 2 outs, nobody on, gave up a home run to Seager. They tied it up, and yeah, the sound went right through my whole body. So anyway, that was an interesting little detour to basically tell you I think Corey Seager's the man, and every team, if he is on the block that can afford him, should be in on him. You know, that's kind of the way I look at it. All right, let's take a little break, and we're going to get Kiké in here in a few minutes. And then we'll go through some stuff with Kiké, and after that, we'll attack the AL Central. Yeah, return on Seager would be monumental. I think a lot of people are trying to think that maybe this is because it could be potentially a salary issue, that somehow they should take back like a Devers package, but Seager's a better all-around player, so I expect it to be a big package myself. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, I'm going to step away. When I come back, I'll have the triple champ, Kiké Hernandez. All right, see you guys in a bit. All right, Kiké's here. I just gotta get him in the browser, and then we will get started on this. All right, here we go. There he is. What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
How you doing?
Doing great. Having a little coffee.
Oh, I see you're rocking the beanie. I love it. I love it.
Yes,
Beautiful.
sir. Swag bag came in last night.
Oh, it's outstanding. How's the elbow feeling? A couple days out of surgery.
I mean, it's better than I thought it was gonna feel, but that's because the first 3 days were completely miserable, and I was strongly depending on the pills. But last 3 days we've gone without painkillers, grinded them out, and we're doing better. Just burn and just itchy. First time I've ever had a cast in my life. So.
What did they actually do in there? They didn't do a Tommy John, right? They did like a cleanup.
Yeah, they didn't want to touch my UCL. They didn't check it this time around. In July, there was a tear there, but Dr. Alatrach was like, "I'm not going to worry about your UCL because it's your bottom arm, and you don't put a lot of stress in it when you swing." So he's like, "I'm not going to let you miss a full year of baseball for your non-throwing arm." So they went in thinking it was going to be an extensor release, and when they went in, they realized that I had torn that thing completely off the bone. So it turned out to be an extensive repair. So I'll be out for like a month or two next year.
Yeah, so
And
I saw your post. Obviously, no WBC. That's got to be a little disappointing.
yeah, that was devastating. So when I went in for my post World Series MRI, like my exit physical, the MRI showed kind of the same as the MRI in July as far as like the damage, but it was hard to tell because it looked like a weather forecast. It was so white. There was so much swelling that it was super white. And right there and there, I was like, they gave me a 50-50 chance of like recovering without surgery. And of course, that was my decision. I was torn because I didn't know what to do. I really wanted to play in WBC. Like from the bottom of my heart, like playing the WBC at home in Puerto Rico has been as big a dream of mine as playing in the World Series. And I played two WBCs and I never got the chance to play in Puerto Rico. And this time around, we brought it back to Puerto Rico. So that was like, man, I don't know what to do. And I was like, Doc, I'm gonna need a couple of days to think about it. I'm hopefully my family can make a decision for me. And sure enough, yeah, I talked to my wife, I talked to my parents, and then I talked to my agents, and I let them decide. And as you remember in boxing, when I hurt my core, I played a couple more years after that, like that, not knowing that I needed surgery. And I ended up getting surgery 3 seasons after the fact. So they were like, "You're not doing this again." And
Yeah.
I mean, going into the surgery, it was like a week between MRI and surgery day, and I was like second guessing myself. I was like, man, every day that goes by, I feel better and better. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. I think I might be screwing it up by getting surgery. Sure enough, as soon as he went in, I needed the surgery, and I'm glad I did it.
Are you hearing a frog noise? Everybody in my chat saying they're hearing a frog noise.
A frog noise.
Yeah, I think there's something weird with the audio. I don't know, but we'll try to push through it. Do you remember?
I don't have a frog inside my house, I promise you.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's going on with the audio on your end, but it can hear it. I can hear you mostly, so it's fine. Do you remember what play you hurt yourself on? I remember when we were texting, you were saying you dove for a ball like super far away.
Yeah, so I hurt myself in May
Yeah.
28th at home plate. That was in Cleveland.
So that was
I think it
Cleveland.
was Cleveland wild pitch. Shohei was hitting. Um, the long lefty,
Allard.
her,
Allard.
Heron was pitching.
Oh, Heron. Okay, so it's somewhere in here.
Yeah. So I was like, I think it was the fourth pitch of the at bat.
All right, let's see.
No, I guess the previous one I already scored.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's all
that
good.
one.
So it was like kind of when you extended through the plate there a little bit?
No, it was when he tackled me. He slid into my
Oh,
elbow.
yeah, right there. So you hyperextended a little bit right
It
there.
hyperextended the wrong way. And I was dealing with a little bit of tennis elbow, but it was super mild. Um, First game of the series, the season. I got like this 24-hour virus and I threw up my guts out for 24 hours. And when I came back to play, my elbow felt like weird. It's kind of those things where I'm like, my body's just weak and like I tweaked something. So like it was just a very mild case of tennis elbow all the way through May. And it wasn't really affecting me at all. And it was that play that like aggravated my UCL. And that's when the symptoms of the tennis elbow started getting really, really bad. And I played like a month through that till I got to the point where I was like, look, like I can't do this anymore. I was hitting under 100 for the last month. I was like, I'm not only doing a disservice to me, but to the team too. You know, I've never gone on the IL feeling like I can play. I still feel like I can play. Obviously, I'm not producing, but like I'm not incapable of playing. I can still like post whatever. And that's when like Andrew Friedman and Brandon Gomes and Dave Roberts like convinced me like, hey, let's give it a second. Let's let you rest. Like we don't need you to play in June. Like the reality is we need you to be ready for the second half, whatever. And I missed a long time and it wasn't getting better. It wasn't getting better. I went through like 4 shots till it finally got better, got me playing, and then I was fine. You know, I would feel it here and there, but I was fine. Once playoffs came in, adrenaline took over. I wasn't feeling it. And then game 3 of the NLCS shadow game, not only was it tough to see the play, but it was also tough to see it on defense. And Caleb Durbin hit a ball down the line that I thought I had a chance. And I'm pretty sure I missed it by like 37 feet.
Well, let's find out. Who was it? Durbin? Wait, this was against
Yeah,
the Brewers. This was against the
the
Brewers.
Brewers.
My
Yeah, the
bad. Yeah, I
Brewers.
got you. I forgot about the Brewers because you guys swept them so fast that I was like, man,
I know that happened too fast, man. They were good too.
they they ran into Snell and Yamamoto like everybody
That was
else.
a problem. I mean, yeah, Glass now and then who threw game 4? Oh, Shohei threw game 4. Of course, he had the game. You know,
Is it this first one, the
but
triple?
yeah, it was his first at bat because it was before my first at bat.
All right, let's see. You were closer than you thought, but yeah, I can see how
I
when you
know.
landed, you kind of like probably,
The ball beat me to the spot.
yeah,
Like I thought I had it, but it just beat me to the spot,
yeah. That shadows were crazy in that game.
bro. I mean, not only were they crazy, but we had 2 giraffes pitching for both teams. We had Glass now and they had Mercerowski, both throwing 1,000 with like 20 feet of extension, and you can't see the ball.
Yeah, that was crazy. Between Glasnow and Sanchez, that was I called it before the game because I've been in Dodger Stadium in bad shadows and it's awful because it's so bright in center and so
Yes,
dark right on
yes,
top of home plate. Like it's a huge
yeah.
contrast. It's
No,
insane.
yeah. I mean, Mercerowski was throwing black objects. You know, they were just a black, somewhat of a ball. You know, sometimes that shit would move so much that like it didn't even look like a ball, but that was a tough one. But anyway, when I got back, it felt weird, and I was like, "Why is like my elbow feels weird?" And I was wearing sleeves, and I got back in the dugout. And when I got back in the dugout, I rolled down my sleeves, and I was like bruised here, which I was like, I landed on it. I get it. I bruised. I bruise easily sometimes, but then I was bruised up here too, and I was like, that might not be good. Why am I bruised up here? Also, look at my accessories to my where's the camera?
Oh baby, look at that. Is
Some
that
people signed
is that
Some people sign their cast, some people get like frozen band-aids.
yeah, I was gonna say, did she decorate that like the makeover you got the other day?
Basically, yeah. You know, she loves her band-aids when she gets an ouchie, and I have a pretty big ouchie, so she wanted to put a band-aid on there.
No, that's awesome. That's the best. Girls are the best. I'm the same way.
Yeah, they are.
They come take care of me every time. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it. The first time that we actually met in person was because we both ended up in an apartment complex that we had no idea where we were staying in Fort Myers. Turned out to be across the street from a jail.
Yep. True story. True story.
And it was my fault because I was the one who kind of convinced you guys to go there because we were getting help on finding a place to go. And we were working with some people that were helping us. We just looking for a new place. And then you were convinced, like, oh, if Ottavino's staying there, it might be nice. So you guys end up showing up. And I remember thinking, oh, man, I feel terrible. I remember your daughter was really little at the time. It was a little
Yeah,
bit of a sketchy
she was like
situation.
2 weeks old.
Yeah.
And then we had that incident where like there was like that fight in that apartment.
Oh, my God. That was scary.
Yeah, the whole apartment complex thought somebody was dying. But yeah, I mean, those were good times. That was a good year. I had a lot. That was one of the funnest years for me in baseball.
Me too. That was an electric season. It really was.
Yeah. I mean, Boston, I wasn't sure what to expect because, of course, 6 years in LA. I mean, the same as you. You were in Colorado for a while, or you had been with the Yankees already.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had no clue what to expect, and I showed up in Boston. I was like, "Damn, this is a sick city. I wish it wasn't this cold, but it's a sick city." And then once I wasn't really loving Fenway, but it was because we weren't playing in a full stadium.
Yeah, at the beginning.
And then once we started playing a full stadium, I was like, "Oh, this place is electric. This is sick." Because the only time I played Fenway was World Series, and those were not good memories. They steamrolled us that year.
Yeah, 18. Yeah.
Hmm.
That was crazy because like we weren't supposed to be good that year. And then we ended up being good. And we got in there, we had that electric game versus the Yankees in the wild card, beat the Rays. We weren't supposed to beat them. That was an interesting
And
year. It
then
was very fun. Very fun.
and then we were doing great against the Astros till we weren't.
Until we weren't. That's how it goes. That's the
Yeah.
story of my career.
Hmm.
Game 6, losing every time. So
Happens.
yeah, it does. It does. All right. Well, first of all, congrats on the triple championship. I mean, that's amazing.
Thank you.
You've been in 5
Yeah.
World Series now, and you've won 3 of them.
5. I lost the first 2 and I threw for my last 3. It's just winning is sick, but it goes away fast. The losing feeling lasts forever.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this World Series was obviously you played in it, so you have a feeling, but this one was insane. This one was absolutely electric. I was actually at 3 of the games, but dude, I mean,
It was something, man. That team was they were relentless, man. They were their offense was relentless. Obviously, they put the ball in play a lot, but like not only that, but you put the ball in play and but you still find yourselves into outs. But like I feel like the quality of their at bats, the quality of the contact was, I mean, it was solid throughout, and our pitching was, obviously our bullpen was struggling, but it's still elite stuff coming out of there. And then our rotation is possibly the greatest rotation assembled in the history of the game. And I mean, they had us till they didn't.
yeah.
But it was, I think people are going to be talking about this one for a long time.
Yeah, I thought their offense did a great job versus Snell, Glasnow, and even Shohei to some extent. It was really just Yoshi who was
Oh,
able to stay
yeah,
one step ahead, you know?
I mean, Shohei started 2 games. They scored 3 runs both times against Show. Um, Snell, the big game 1 was a big homer by Varsho, 3-run homer. Um, Yoshinobu was just he put on his superhero cape the whole postseason, and he did what he obviously the rest is history. But like their whole thing was it was incredible, man. That place was a lot of fun to play in too.
Yeah, now
I
that
haven't played that
we're
many games there.
that place was sick, loud, super loud, and they just renovated
Yeah,
it, so it's a lot nicer inside now. That
it was.
visiting clubhouse is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But now that we're talking about it, I am curious a little bit on a little insight about Yamamoto. Really, I mean, look, he came out on 0 days rest and sacked up for everybody. 2 1/3 on the final day. Game 7 was warming up after a complete game shutout in LA. Famously, doesn't really lift weights. Has his own routine. Has his own trainer. I'm just curious, like watching him go about his business the first 2 years. Like, what's the most impressive part? Is it like a discipline thing? Is it like a mental game thing, or is it like just basically his training style?
For me, I think you know, like people forget. Like obviously, you come from a people knew his name, but like people didn't really know who he was, and like there was a lot of criticism about behind the fact of a guy getting $325 million before throwing a single pitch in the league. And like people forget how like young he was. He came in at like 24, and like 24 is not that old in baseball. Like that is very young. That is very like, people can be very raw at 24 years old. And like he came in and like the one thing that people don't talk about about coming into our locker room, it could be an intimidating locker room to come into, bro. Like
Got
there's
stars.
just there's just name after name. I'm like, I think I'm the only one in that locker room. Like, probably me and Miggy Rowe. That we're the only two that haven't been all stars. I had like 26 guys. It's wild. And it's not an easy locker room to come into, especially at 24 years old, coming to a new world because if you go to Japan to visit, you understand like well the like life is different, language barriers, like people underestimate the what language barrier can do to you. And like he came in and he's like, hey, I got my routine, and like people might whatever you think, whatever you want to think, but like I'm gonna do my routine. This is what works for me. And he's got a very different one. And he just came in day one and he started doing his thing. And Game 7 of the World Series, 2 years, like a full season later, he's doing the same thing. And it's just like the consistency of his work and how focused he is when he's working. It's crazy. Every day you got music in the weight room just blasting, and every day is a different type of music. And of course, the starting pitcher gets to choose his music that day. And like there's just a different type of like when you don't understand the language, the music sounds like sounds. And there's just a really loud different sounds just blasting in your ears. And this dude is just doing all these balance stuffs, breathing out of a straw. Like it is insane. You have people like me behind him trying to make him laugh, trying to like do stuff behind him and like things like that. Um, and he doesn't break. And I mean, when I first saw him, I'm like, with that body and this workout style, not lifting weights, I don't know how long he's gonna last, but he's got it down, man. And there's nothing more impressive than watching this dude play catch.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
He's got the prettiest throw in baseball, and once he's done throwing those javelins, you're gonna have to take 30 minutes to an hour to like out of your time to go outside and watch him play catch because he goes through his shit and like he like comes set and like really thinks about it in between every throw, and like sometimes he doesn't like it and he like steps off even though there's no mound and he gets back into it, and he just from like 400 feet away just as if he's throwing a home plate and he just throws it on the line, dude. And I mean, the dude is an animal, and obviously he deserves every stat that they gave him. And there's just that little guy, nicest guy in the world, but man, he's got that fu when he's on that mound. That stadium is his, and he's shown it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been obsessed watching him from a distance from a long time. Obviously, the unique delivery, the unique approach, but I mean, back to back to back MVP Sawamura awards in Japan from 21, 22, 23. Like, that's insane. Like, that's a great league over there. You know what I mean? Like,
Bro, so like I think he did 6 years over there. I think that's how it works here, the posting system, either 6 or 7, and he's got his 2 years here. He has won the championship more than half of his years in the big leagues, at the big league level, whether in Japan or in the US. The guy is a winner. He wins everywhere he goes. He won the WBC. Like the guy is a winner.
yeah.
And like that quote that just came down there by Carlos, losing is not an option. When he said that shit in the press conference, I was like, I had the goosebumps. I
Hell
was like,
yeah.
oh baby, talk dirty to me. I freaking love this shit.
I love it.
But that's Yama. That's Yama, man.
It was so sick. So sick to watch. I mean, I did a whole bunch of videos on it because, the combination of velocity, pitch, different pitch types, command, even fielding his position, like there's no weaknesses, there's no cracks. So, and this Jay Farrell also mentions he also won an Olympic gold medal. So all he's done is win, 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 no matter what, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's crazy to see a guy that throws like he's like an overpowering pitcher because he's got stuff, he's got power and stuff, but he's got like almost like Greg Maddux command.
He does.
That's the part that's wild. Like he's just dotting those fastballs down and away, like it's just like he's throwing 90 miles an hour. And he's throwing every pitch at full effort. It just doesn't look that way because his delivery is so consistent and so pretty. But like this dude is pitching like he's throwing in the low 90s at like upper 90s.
Who do you think had better command that you played with, Greinke or Yama?
It's tough because I only played behind Greinke for a year.
Only the
And
one
the year
year.
that I played behind, and the year I played behind him, I mean,
2015.
he didn't win the Cy Young because Arrieta just some being from a different planet came over, took over his body, and just proceeded to have the second half that he had. But I was playing center field that year a lot, and I was playing right behind the mound because we didn't have cards back then in 2015. And it was impressive what he was doing. He was throwing 94, 95 with like his changeup was like 91, 92, and then his slider was like 90 miles an hour. It was really sick. It was to me that was, like that year I was just like I never took it for granted. I was like getting to play center field like right behind the mound because we're not really moving that much with Hirsch and Greinke. Like getting to watch this thing back to back nights it was sick.
Yeah, I can't believe he didn't win the Cy Young. I mean, 222 and a third with a 166, 19 and 3. And I
Yes.
think that was the year he had the strikeout. No, like the scoreless streak
The
going.
the scoreless, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I'll never forget. It was on a play ground ball to first base.
that he lost it.
Ground ball to first base is when he lost it. I think we were playing at Citi Field maybe when he lost the streak.
Yeah,
But
it's
that
so
was it was
crazy.
it was cool to be a part of that.
All right, let's move on to two plays in the World Series that I'm curious to get your take on. Number one is the play that you ended Game 6 on.
Mhm.
I'll show the broadcast and I'll show the high home because were you playing shallow on your own here?
Yeah. I mean, the card had me playing shallow, but after the game, I asked Dino Evil, like he's in charge of the outfielders. I was like, hey, bro, like I banged the card, and I was like, played. I said, I'm gonna, like I thought to myself, I was like, I gotta be willing to answer some tough questions after this game if I get a ball over my head because I'm basically telling the front office, screw you, I'm gonna play where I think I'm gonna play,
Yeah,
and if it doesn't work out, then well, that was the end of me as a Dodger, But like I'm like I cannot let I gotta put myself in a position to where if a ball gets hit in front of me, I keep the runner that's at second at third, but I'm also in a good position where I don't have to go for it with a throw to home plate. I can make a strong low throw and keep the batter runner at first because he's the winning run. So I
yeah.
said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna play in," and then I turned out to be 7 feet in front of where they wanted me to play.
I love your baseball instincts here because you're right. Look, it's Jimenez. He's probably not going to burn you here with a ball over your head. More than likely, he's looking to make a little contact, spray it the other way, drive these runs in with a single. So I think you played it perfectly, honestly. I mean, obviously you did.
To me was like if you go back to when Glass is on his like when he's coming set like with Glass now on the mound and well high home like to me Glass now is heater like his extension but look how big that gap that hole between shortstop and third base is.
Yeah, massive. You could drive a truck through
Every
this thing.
scenario every scenario that was in my head it was never a fly like a ball in the air. Every scenario that I ran and through in my head before this pitch was like he's gonna hit a ball in between short and third.
Yeah, you're
It
seeing
was
that
like
gap right in front of you.
it looks massive. Like Glass is, his shit plays up a lot, so guys tend to be late. He's coming out of the pen, so he's probably gonna be 1 or 2 miles per hour harder. Like I was just like, I need a ground ball. I need to keep him at third because Barger at second base is fast, and Jimenez is fast at home plate. I was like, I need to be able to not let those guys get more than 90 feet. And luckily for me, the crowd went a little quiet right as like when at release, and it got quiet enough to where I could hear the bat break and I was able to get that read, and then in left field, I'm just playing shortstop or third base out there, and I have the whole field in front of me, and I don't even have to like really look at where the runners are to like feel where they're at. And I felt like he got a big lead at second base, and I gave a quick short throw. I try to make a better throw, but I gave him a decent enough throw. I think if he goes as a first baseman and he like steps into like me, he might not have such a hard pick, but he caught it. We won. That's all that
He's
matters.
he's got those monos, man. He really does. And
Yeah, he does.
one thing that was very telling to me on this play is if you watch the mechanics of everybody else on the field, everybody else thought this ball was a hit off the bat. Like literally, Muncy goes to line up to home. Uh, literally, Glasnow's starting to run back to backpedal to get behind home. Like obviously, they had a little confusion on the base paths, so you made it look easy because your jump was so good and your positioning was so good. But definitely off the bat, this ball read like a hit to most of the people on the field. Which I thought was interesting to see. Like not even just the base runner, like even some of the fielders on the Dodgers as well. So I
Yeah.
don't know, just a
No,
great.
I sometimes I don't believe analytics because it said it had 40% catch probability. I'm like, bro, like that ball not only did I catch it in the air without sliding, but I caught it up here. Like, how is that 40% chance? You're telling me 60% of the chance that ball, 60% of the time that ball drops?
Yeah, it's BS. It's just a combination of exit velocity and launch angle. Like all the exit velocity and launch angles in general, like it takes out. Baseball Savant doesn't use direction, so it's just like this ball could be in the gap. It could be, you could be playing deep or whatever, and that's kind of why it probably grades it that way. But yeah, they got to work on that catch probability stuff. It's not ideal. All right, and then the second one obviously is the play where you get tackled by Pajes, and I've maintained, and I know you maintain as well, that you were catching this ball, but this ball was in the air for an awful long time, and
Luckily.
man, and you see Yoshi's reaction, of course, was like a little bit like praying for this ball to come down in a glove. But you were also playing in here as well, a little shallow here.
I was playing about normal, but the problem was the location of the pitch. Like obviously, like me as a defender, and like I'm not the fastest guy. Like I depend on reading swings, and like the pitch from left field looked like it was gonna bounce.
It almost bounced, yeah.
And like Ernie has this like not weird swing, but he's got like this swing where like almost like he's so short to the ball that it almost looks like he's like half swinging every time.
Yeah, he's got no
And
load.
I
He
had
just kind of goes pop.
y-
Yeah.
right, and I had he probably dropped 7 balls in front of me this series, and like I saw the pitch and I thought that it was like a off the end bloop, so like I took like a half false step in, and then I rapidly realized, oh shit, I gotta go for this ball. But like, I mean, I ran and I ran forever, and I realized that the ball was enough towards the gap where I wasn't gonna run into the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure enough, the only thing I got to worry about is the wall.
Yeah,
And
you ran a
I
long
I
way.
forgot I forgot I had a teammate. But yeah, I mean, I'm not the type of guy like if I would say that I didn't have it, but I mean, you look at the angle, and I'm like slowing down already because I have the ball. I'm just getting in a position of like
Yeah, it's a
I'm
basket
gonna have
catch.
to I'm gonna have to Willie Mays it. I'm just trying to get in a better enough angle to where like the basket catch is gonna be somewhat comfortable. And Bias took me out, but like I went down. He didn't hit me that hard. I just went down because both my feet were kind of off the ground because I'm like trying to slow down and
Yeah.
time the ball, and like both of my feet were kind of off the ground, and that's why like I went flying. And
Yeah.
of course, I thought we lost the game, so I'm just
So that's what you're doing
depressed.
here. You're on the ground like crap. We lost.
Yeah, you've been on the like I'm sure like when you're on the mound, like things like that happen. Like it feels like an eternity, and so many things go through your head. Like one of the first things that came to my head was this is how the World Series ended, and this video is gonna show up like it's gonna be replayed forever. And I'm gonna we lost the World Series. Meanwhile, I got tackled, and this video is just gonna show forever. And I was just very sad at the moment.
Yeah.
And I went into a deep depression for like 10 seconds there. So Paez was like, "Hey, bro, are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, did you catch it?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah! What am I doing here then?"
Dude, that was crazy, man. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I actually thought it was a great job by Dave, to be honest, continuing to manage in that spot.
Yeah, I mean,
Not forgetting.
Paez came in the game for his arm, not for his gloves, because we were in a bases loaded, less than 2 out situation where fly ball, you need to be able to throw the guy out. So we took Tommy out, and we brought in Paez for his arm, and it ended up being his legs and his glove that potentially saved the season. If for those people that think that I couldn't catch it, Paez's legs and glove saved us.
I thought it was great either way, but I definitely thought you had it. All right, last question from the series. A lot of people I've watched this guy pitch a ton this year. You actually clip him here for a home run in this at bat. You savage.
Mhm.
What's the visual like getting ready for this guy? Like, were you even able to get him on the trajectory with that arm angle?
Yeah, but so funny. Obviously, with my elbow, I couldn't hit in between series.
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't really able to. The first time I was able to swing was the day prior to 2 days before the World Series when we flew into to Toronto, and we had a morning like optional workout. You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I didn't get live AB, so I need to get on traject. And sure enough, I faced Cosman for a little bit, but I was like, I faced Cosman a lot, so even if my timing's not right, at least I know what like it feels like. So I was like, I want to face Savage because we thought Savage was starting game one,
Yeah.
and we started moving the traject, and sure enough, the traject doesn't even get as high as his release point
See, that's what I was
because
thinking. I was like,
it doesn't go that high.
there's almost no way to simulate this angle. Like, so it's got to be
Yeah.
weird. Plus, the slider goes the wrong direction.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys. It's Savage, Verlander, and then
There's a guy on
I don't
on the Pirates, Moretta, if you remember him,
yeah, he
maybe.
was with the guy that was with the Reds before. But like I'm talking about like releases. One of the twins, one of the Rogers twins. I never know which one's Taylor and which one's Trevor. But the submarine guy, the traject doesn't get that low.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So like there's certain guys that you get an idea what it feels like, but like you don't get the release. And yeah, you saw it, and like the slider didn't do what it does. Like the slider was breaking off the traject. And it wasn't this at bat. Like that pitch I swung at, look at my reaction. Look up right away. I was like, first pitch split.
Oh,
And I look
so
up
yeah.
and I look up and I'm like, oh, it's a slider. Holy shit. Because in Toronto, I faced him twice and like I got to hit my first at bat and it was on a slider that kind of like went down. It didn't like go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then he punched me out my second at bat. But it was like another, it went down, it didn't go backwards. And that game against like at the Dodger Stadium, his stuff was really, really good. Like his slider he had it and it was going backwards big time. Which makes us, I feel like it makes the split better because you're trying to like get an idea of where the pitch is going to go because your eyes are trained to have the slider go the normal way or go down. But his shit goes, it's weird. It's like a lefty slider. It's the weirdest thing in the world. And it's coming from a fucked up angle. And he's got a really good split. Um,
Yeah, it's just so
Good enough
bizarre.
fastball. He's good enough fastball. He's just like hiding his fastball behind the slider and a split. So like he's tough. He's gonna be really good for a long time if he can stay healthy.
Yeah,
Um,
on this stream, I
just
kept trying to explain to people that look, like nobody's really seen this guy yet. It's unique, and that's part of the problem. Like you just don't see this arm angle, you don't see the break on this slider, and he's got the split that's like a low spin version, like kind of going the same direction but different.
yeah,
Like it's just a unique look. So it was so effective to be able to deploy that come playoff time when nobody has any read on him yet. You know?
yeah. So one other thing I told the guys in the meeting before Game 5, I was like, I felt like I was like, obviously it was Game 1 and we hadn't hit for a while and I wasn't facing live pitching, but like I was like, his arm looks long. But he's like at home plate, I was kind of waiting for his long arm action, but he's got a long arm, but it's like quick. And I was like, that kind of got me off, like, a little bit like, oh shit, should I start it this time or should I start it this time? So it's just, there's a lot of things that he does that make him unique. And of course, he's on like the far first base side. Like there's so many things that make him unique. And I always say that like first time that a pitcher is facing a team, it's an advantage pitcher, but
Huge.
like, his stuff is so unique that like you don't it's not like you get used to it because you get used to guys like when you find the release point or whatever, but like it's like I said, like your eyes are so trained to like pick up the baseball and like you see spin and you're used to like the ball going this way, but his shit just either goes down or like legit goes the other way. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, totally, totally. I mean, I kind of love his approach because it's everybody's trying to go up shoot to the top of the zone, kind of uphill, and he's just like, no, I'm
Hmm.
going straight downhill with everything. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see more people try to copy this style a little bit as we go.
How do you teach the backwards slider?
I don't know how you teach a backward slider. You got to go short stride though for sure, and hike the arm up
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
hook
you just throw
shot.
behind your. Yeah.
I know the new Japanese guy Amai that's coming over now. He's got a little bit of a reverse slider as well, so I'm curious to watch how that plays. Maybe this is a new pitch. Maybe this is the new thing that pops this year. Is guys throwing reverse sliders? I don't know.
Yeah, like that Moretta guy, he's been DFA by a few teams, but I think he's nasty, bro.
He had one run 2 years ago where he was shoving for the Pirates, I believe, and a lot of people
Like,
were
He
like,
throws mid 90s
"Yeah,
with a very unique slider. Like you got like show him one more pitch or something that like he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be really effective. But I'm sure some team's gonna figure him out.
yeah." I mean, that's the whole league now. 95 with some sort of wrinkle, right? So
And he brings the entertainment because he's got all these kind of celebrations and shit. Like I think it's entertaining.
yeah, yeah. I want to watch you pitch for a second. I mean, you had the legendary helmet that you were
Hmm.
rocking on the mound this year. I have a list of your game log from this year. I feel like
Yeah.
are you just like the guy that you're like, you know what? I'm pitching all the extra innings that you guys need, and I see that even 4 of these games you won. So you're basically closing out wins, which is a little unique.
Yeah, so the only pitching appearance I had for a very long time did not go my way. It was, Trevor Plouffe loves to talk about this, but he walked me off. I became the first position player in the history of this game to give up a walk-off homer. Um, Second player in the history of the game to go 0 for 7 at the plate and lose the game on the mound. Me and Babe Ruth, no big deal, humble brag, Um, and that was my only experience for a very long time. And it wasn't until last year that like Doc asked me if I could pitch. And I was like, sure, Doc, I can pitch. Um,
I love it.
and I had a lot of success last year, but like this is the pitch right here that got me in trouble this year because like I figured I have this little gliding cutter thing that I like crossfire, and I would only use it at like certain times last year.
Dude, that was
But then
dirty right there.
I felt like I had so much command of it this year, and guys couldn't hit it that I started throwing it every time, and like I got to a point where I couldn't throw strikes.
Yeah.
But like yeah, this is my favorite bat of my entire career.
Yeah, I saw it was a strikeout, so I had to highlight it right away. I mean, triple slow curves, right? And then you're gonna go
Well,
fastball.
is a little cutter, just a lot of vert on the cutter, a
Oh
lot of
yeah, I see it. 17 vert, negative 11.
Oh, the previous one was like 20,
Hold on, let's see.
and
Yeah.
oh no, that was a
All right,
horizontal
let's watch the
21.
freeze 'em fastball here. Oh.
Ah, throwing a Kershaw speed, 87, baby.
Oh, the boys love it. The boys love it. That's so
Yeah,
funny, bro. What's up with the helmet? Is this a special custom piece or?
bro. So this helmet was Bobby Miller got smoked in the head
Oh, okay.
last year. He got smoked in the head in spring training, and like next day, one of MLB's doctors comes in with this stupid helmet, and we were all like, "What the fuck is this?" And he was like, "Oh, I brought this for Bobby Miller. He got hit in the head. This is a new helmet that the league might want to pitchers to try, like a concussion, like to avoid concussions, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Well, let me get this helmet." And he's like, "Why?" I was like, "Cause I pitch." He's like, "You don't pitch." I was like, "Check my numbers, bro. I pitched 4 times last year. No big deal." And he's like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, let me wear it around let me wear it around today." He's like, "Well, I'm leaving in a little bit." I was like, "That's fine. I'll give it back." And he's like, "All right, well, can you bring it to Japan?" I was like, "Oh, this dude is making me keep the helmet for like a month." All right. I was like, "This fucking guy doesn't know who he's giving the helmet to. He's
No.
never gonna see this helmet. He's never gonna see this helmet again." So I wore it in spring training like daily to go to like practice and shit. And of course, I didn't take it to Japan. I sent it straight to LA. I was like, "This guy's not taking my helmet," because like I told everybody, I was like, "I'm a man of my word." I told everybody that if I pitch, I'm wearing the helmet, and I'm waiting for the time I pitch to wear the helmet. And I don't know if it was April or it was May, but sure enough, I got the chance to pitch against the Marlins, which turned out to be good because uh, we got former our manager. Their manager was our former coach,
Oh
Clayton
yeah, Clayton
McCullough. So
McCullough. Yeah.
he knows my personality. He knows I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm just doing it for my team. And of course, Arizona. Yeah, that's what I thought. I went shutty with my helmet, and it kind of blew up everywhere.
I love
But
it. You were
I
using it
kept
in the
pitching in it.
celebration too, right? You had it on in the clubhouse when you were celebrating.
Yeah, I said I'm gonna keep wearing it till it doesn't work. And sure enough, there was one of the most embarrassing things that has ever happened to me was, coming in during an outing and then having to come out. It was that same Giants outing, I think, that I gave it up on the strikeout because after the strikeout, I threw hard and like my adrenaline was so insane because bro, the whole stadium was chanting my name
Yeah.
and I'm on the mound and I'm trying to slow my arm down
Oh yeah, you had a
and
couple walks in a row, and then you give up this
I
grand
can't. Well,
slam.
yeah, the freaking umpire was squeezing me, and I gave it up. And like Doc had no choice but to like bring in a pitcher to close out the game, and I had to walk into the dugout. Good, I got taken out. It was embarrassing,
Yeah.
so I stopped wearing the helmet. And then I always said if we win the World Series, I'm going to celebrate with it. And the freaking see, that's a strike. Look
Dude,
at my reaction,
this
bro.
pitch looked good. Oh,
Ah,
I don't know.
ABS. That's why we need ABS, bro.
Smitty didn't do a great job, honestly, but
Well,
you know,
it's hard to frame 56.
yeah, it's true. It's true. That's
But yeah,
hilarious, bro.
I was so embarrassed having to walk in the dugout after being taken out on the mound and watch the last out of the game from the dugout.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the Hall of Fame was trying to get the helmet from me after the World Series, and I was like, "Sorry, Hall of Fame, I'll never be in there, but this helmet goes in my house. I'm not letting you take this helmet from me."
Oh yeah, that's a
So
that's a
the one of
display.
one.
Yeah, it's a one of one display piece now. Can't give that up.
Yeah. If anything, I'm gonna give it to Topps, make a lot of money out of trading cards, but
Mm,
not to the Hall of Fame.
good point. Good point. All right, last thing. This came from my Discord channel yesterday. They just want to relive a little bit of you in the banana suit and a little bit of the story here. Is it true that Andrew Friedman paid your fine? Did you get fined for this?
I ended up getting a warning, not a fine.
Okay.
But yeah, I was a rook. I was basically a rookie. I had like a year of service time, but like on that team, that's like having 2 days in the big leagues.
Yeah. Were you nervous doing
And
this? You look like you're a little
I
like, should
was
I be doing
well,
this?
yeah, I look at my face and look at my smirk. I kept looking at Don Mattingly like this guy is gonna send me down instantly. I was so scared of Don Mattingly because I'm like, bro, I'm wearing a fucking banana hoodie in the dugout.
Yeah,
Um, that
dude.
was it was a long ass game. I was hurt, you know, as superstitious people that we are as baseball players, you try to rally things and they don't work. So the 14th inning, I went and I threw that banana hoodie on in the locker room, and he came in the locker room. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Trying to will my team to a win, but like obviously I can't wear this down there." He's like, "No, you can." I was like, "What do you mean I can?" He's like, "You can." I was like, "Bro, I'm gonna get fined." He goes, "If you get fined, I'll pay your fine. If somebody says anything, tell them I sent you."
That's
And
badass.
I was like, "Yes, sir." Sure enough, I went in the dugout, but then I went in the dugout. I was fucking freaking out. I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna get in so much trouble. People are gonna say whatever, blah blah blah." But we won the game, bro. We won the game in that inning. It worked.
Who were the intimidating vets before you knew them? Like when you first got up there?
I mean, we had Andre Ether, who,
Ether,
after he retired, he went into anger management classes, and he's all mellowed out now.
Aegon,
Uh,
Aegon.
yeah, I mean, we had Adrian, we had Jimmy
Oh
Rollins,
yeah,
Chase Utley was on the team by that time.
yeah.
Um, we had Carl Crawford. I mean, the whole team was veteran guys. We had AJ Ellis.
Mark Ellis
That's
too,
what I mean.
right?
No, Mark wasn't there.
He's
I think
gone.
Mark was there the previous year, maybe.
Yeah,
But like, it was more about like, I know who I am, my personality, but like at the same time, like I don't like at that time I felt like that was borderline disrespecting the game, and I was kind of doing what I wanted to do, and I've never wanted to come off that way, even though I always do what I want, not in
yeah,
a disrespecting way. I still respect the game immensely, and I was just like, "Fuck, I'm not very insecure. Like I don't get embarrassed at all, but like these are both. I'm like, I'm not that sure that I'm doing the right thing. I'm probably crossing the line here, and I'm embarrassed right now. But we won the game.
yeah. Things are always viewed differently when you're younger, when you're older, and have a little more dirt under your cleats. I mean, Tommy Canley as a
Totally.
rookie was received a little differently than Tommy Canley as a veteran. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is me as a rookie, like going back to being a veteran, 10 plus years in the league. Game three of the World Series, 18 inning game. I'm feeding people I have a massive steak in my hand, and I am feeding people steak in the
In the
dugout because I
dugout.
came out of the game. Because I came out of the game, I'm feeding people out of my hand with a massive steak. I fed like 6 people with a steak.
Oh, that's
Like,
amazing.
things are different when you're a rookie and when you're a vet, but
Totally.
that's how life works.
Yeah, that is how life works. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for hanging out. That was great. We got a little insight. I wish you nothing but the best this offseason. Speedy recovery. Hopefully, you get signed with wherever you want for as much as you want and get the opportunity you
Or if I
want.
sign, yeah.
If you sign or whatever you're gonna do, who knows? These free agencies, as a lot of people don't realize, are not always the most fun. Not always the most fun times.
That's me the last 3, 4 years, but
Yeah.
as long as the game's still there, we'll take it.
All right. Well, you're the best, man. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, bro.
And
Appreciate
all
you.
right. Peace, brother. I'll get you out of here.
See ya.
All right. See you, buddy. All right. That was Kiké. He was great. That was fantastic. He's always the best, obviously. just one of the best personalities in the game. I think the sound thing, we got a little more used to it as time went on. But yeah, that was a little froggy action going on there earlier. But no, he's great. He's great. He's the man. So, all right, we're going to do AL Central needs next, which definitely won't be as long as NL East needs. But I'm going to take a 2-minute break to make another coffee, and then I'll pop back up on here, and we'll get going on the AL Central. Thanks for everybody for hanging out today on Baseball and Coffee. We'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back. Had to go refill the old coffee. And I don't know if anybody knows any information if that frog noise is possible to be edited out. Probably, because that's unfortunate. I thought that was a pretty good conversation. But with the frog noise, it might be hard to clip that into an audio file or something. So I don't know. That was a little bit of a bummer. Maybe I need to figure some things out. Man, I have a little trouble at times with the audio or the visuals of the guests, but gonna keep bringing them in because I really like talking to these dudes, and I think it's pretty fun. All right, AL Central is our job today. Let's see if anything quickly popped up on MLB Trade Rumors while I was on there. No, nothing new. There's going to be a lot of action today, as we know, but nothing new quite yet. All right, so let's get started. And it's going to be the Cleveland Guardians who actually chased down the Tigers last year. And they ended up winning the division as the Tigers basically collapsed. Okay, good to know that we can definitely fix the file. Thanks, Nick Rudolph. Appreciate that. I don't know. For playoff previews, we had big crowds. I had 300 people in my stream one day, which was crazy. But anyway, all right, let's get started. AL Central. This is a very interesting division because there's no big dog spending team. Now, yes, the White Sox exist, but they are not necessarily what you would think of as the big dog spending team, right? So anyway, Guardians, they've been kind of they've been the best team in this division for a while. They ended up winning it by 1 game last year, and then they go on to play the Tigers in the postseason and lose. But Anyway, here's the scenario. Here's what they were losing in free agency, Austin Hedges, but they signed him right back, which I think Hedges is one of the best backup catchers in the league. I mean, not only can he handle your pitching staff, but he's a really good mentor, outstanding defensive player, so you can play him in big nut-cutting games if you need to really lock in on defense. Also, Colby Allard, Jacob Junis, Ben Lively, Lane Thomas, and John Means, interestingly. And if it started today, this would be the lineup. Stephen Kwan, one of my favorite players in the game. George Valera, currently penciled in right. Jose Ramirez, everybody knows about J-Ram. Kyle Manzardo, Chase DeLauder, Gabriel Arias, CJ Kafis, Bo Naylor, and Brian Rocchio. Bench of Hedges, Schneeman, Angel Martinez, Jonathan Rodriguez. So look, it's going to be more of the usual when it's the Guardians. They're going to mix and match righties and lefties. They're definitely waiting on the arrival of Bazana at some point, the #1 overall pick, the Aussie, out of Oregon State. And at some point, he will definitely impact this club. But for now, this is kind of what they're working with. It's an interesting mixture of young guys, and then basically there's Jose Ramirez. Not sure what's going to happen with Stephen Kwan moving forward. He's got a ton of value, but this is a team that just won their division, so they're probably not going to punt on their chance to win again. And, they got back-to-back Manager of the Year, Stephen Vogt, which I love to see. And they just seem to always find a way. I mean, they dealt with a gambling controversy this year, losing Clase and Ortiz, and yet they played even better after that. They did lose Kai Correa, as now he is the bench coach for the Mets over there with Carlos. So they lost a good man over there to the Mets, and that will probably have to be replaced. But Cleveland's never had a hard time attracting really good coaches because they seem to have a little bit of magic in their system, player development-wise, and also obviously the way that they do their thing at the big league level. And this is one of those organizations that a lot of smaller markets will try to model themselves after, but it's easier said than done for sure. Now, offensively, no pop in their lineup. They don't barrel the ball, but they put the ball in play like crazy. Ramirez is the pop guy. DeLauder is the rookie who got called up in the postseason, which is interesting. But the big question is, what are they going to do with Kwan? This is the comment. They're going to trade Kwan, and it sucks. And listen, Kwan would be one of my biggest targets if I was certain teams. A team like the Yankees. Now, unfortunately, Yankees are kind of in with Grisham now, and they're going to probably go after the big bad, whether it be Belly or Tucker. But I think before the Grisham move, I would have loved to see them try to swing a trade for Kwan, and I think other teams can possibly go for this as well. He's an elite defender. He's the best outfield thrower in the game. He's also an incredible contact hitter, makes your lineup go, and he's different than other players. So I like that. I like that variety. So I'll be very curious to see what's going on. We got a Kwan for Vientos and Jet Williams thrown out here in the chat by Latin Ruben. So I don't know. I don't know how he's valued around the league, but I know I would be valuing him quite high, to be honest. And look, this team doesn't do a lot in free agency, so for the most part, I can't sit here and project that they're going to sign a whole bunch of guys, especially with the way their payroll typically is. But maybe they'll make some small complementary moves, but for the most part, they're going to believe in their system. Now, here's the rotation. Gavin Williams, who looked outstanding. Tanner Bybee, who looked really good. And then it's Ciccone, Messick, Allen. There's also Cantillo. Don't know how you say that. I've been messing up some pronunciations recently. So yeah, it's the homegrown pitching squad. They drafted Williams in the first round, Bybee in the fifth. They traded for Ciccone from the D-backs, and then Messick was a second rounder, and Logan Allen was a second rounder. So, look, you get drafted in the top few rounds by the Guardians, you're probably going to pitch for them. They need you to. And honestly, this would be a great place to get drafted because they've been unbelievable with player development over the years. First, it was the Matt Blake player development tree. A lot of those pitchers, Bieber, Savali, obviously Bauer was there, Clevenger, a whole bunch of dudes. But they just always seem to kind of piece it together. Now, one that hasn't really worked out, unfortunately, was Tristan McKenzie. Tristan McKenzie really fell off a cliff, and now he's in winter ball trying to, refigure himself out for a second. Let me pull up Stephen Kwan just to get a sense of what's so different about him and why. I mean, everybody seems, I just put Keen Wong. Don't want that. That is a different Wonger than I thought. We need Kwan. I keep typing wrong because I have this baby keyboard. There it is, Stephen Kwan. All right, so you see, it's a weird profile because you look at the exit velo, the barrels, the hard hit, the bat speed. none of that's really there, but it doesn't take away from his effectiveness. Expected batting average of 274. For his career, he's a 281 hitter. He's over 700 OPS, which is pretty good for a contact guy. And, you know, people are going to hate on guys like this when it's like in a rise because he has no defensive value. But look at Kwan's defensive value, 90th percentile in outs above average, 100th percentile in arm value. I love him. And I think other teams probably love him too, even though the OPS doesn't scream superstar. To me, he's a star player. So I'd be curious to see what they do with him. That is, if they get a package back for him, it's going to affect their whole roster. And we'll see how that goes. But anyway, the starting pitching, I don't think they're going to make any additions unless they're, you know, complementary pieces. And then the bullpen, look, the bullpen has been good for a really long time. Even without Class A. Cade Smith is elite. Gaddis. I think Gaddis came back to earth a little bit this year, correct? Let's go look at Hunter Gaddis. One thing I will say, you know, and I ranted a little bit yesterday, obviously, about pitchers getting abused. It's not a Met thing. This is a thing throughout the league, and this is a straightforward, just massive workload. 78 games in 24, 73, and 25 plus playoffs both years. Now, when I talk about being overworked, it's not necessarily a total number of games, right? Like, I mean, you could throw 70 games and not be overworked. It's mostly about acute workloads within a small time frame. So I haven't looked at his game logs, or I'm not with him every day, but there's also a thing called dry humping, which is basically when a guy gets warmed up in the bullpen and gets fully hot, but then doesn't go in the game. Like that, there's a cost for that as well. So look, this guy's been throwing a lot, and yeah, this year he regressed a little bit relative to 24, at least in terms of bottom line results. A lot of the metrics are actually kind of similar, but you know, at a certain point, you pitch a guy this much, there's going to be hell to pay on the back end. Yeah, his barrels went the wrong direction. Exit velo went the wrong direction. Whiff went up, though. So, I don't know. Be a fascinating guy to look at next year, and you pencil him in the 8th inning for the Guardians. But I wouldn't say necessarily that you feel great about it without adding some more guys in there. Sobrowski, Festa, Heron, Kent. I don't know much about these bottom three. I mean, I know Cantillo is like kind of a long reliever or starter with crazy lift on it. But the first four is pretty good, and they should be getting some guys back. I believe there's a Trevor Stephan somewhere who could possibly be coming back at some point. I don't know what the situation with Sam Henches is, or Andrew Walters. Lat surgery doesn't sound good. But, you know, they're going to do what they always do. They have depth. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of moves. They don't usually do it, but maybe they'll make some complementary moves. Or if they make the Quan move, then hopefully they get back major league pieces as well. Because I think this team is still in perfect position to contend, if not win this division again. I mean, this division's very much up for grabs. This is the sad part right now. Is our two friends that got caught up in some bags in some bad situations, Ortiz and Clase. So anyway, just thought we would mention that, and I guess we'll probably move on from the Guardians. All right, Guardians are done. We're moving on to the Kansas City Royals. Now, this is a team that was everybody's pick a couple years ago to kind of, you know, veterans were signing there. There was a lot of momentum, it felt like, but they just haven't been able to get across the finish line. They end up going 82 and 80 last year, so they're on the cusp of things. And I've been on teams that are like this, right around 500. You're bringing almost everybody back. You feel like you're one or two pieces away from winning the division and making a run at it. So I'm very curious to watch what the Royals do, because they have a lot of really talented guys on their roster that I don't think they're going to want to, waste, Anyway, here's the current free agents. Mike Yastrzemski, Michael Lorenzen, Adam Frazier, Hunter Harvey, Luke Maley, Randall Grichuk, and Mark Hanna, the top banana. So all very solid players, and I expect this is the type of guy that they'd be looking to re-add. Veteran, fills a role, probably a platoon situation like Canna or Yastrzemski, maybe a swingman type, back of the rotation type like a Lorenzen. Harvey is a guy who unfortunately was just a little bit too hurt for them to really have any impact. But yeah, they're always looking to make complementary moves. Anyway, here is the lineup as it sits today. Michael Garcia, who had an outstanding year this last year in the leadoff spot. Bobby Witt, one of the top handful of players of the game. The Pasquatch, Fanny Pasquantino, my fellow Paisan, Italian man, very good player, you know, good contact hitter and with some thump. Salvi Perez, he's the obviously the all-time Royal. His number will be retired, so he's there still hitting for pop. Jack Caglione, big-time prospect, huge exit velocity, huge tools. I believe he scuffled quite a bit, though, in his debut. Let's go look at Jack, the Florida Gator. Jack Cags. I've been watching this guy, obviously, since college. You couldn't take your eyes off him. So he only ended up with 210 at-bats, 532 OPS. Bat speed, you know, these are all kind of blurred out metrics, but you can see 77.3 miles an hour on the bat speed, and his barrel percentage is good, but everything else was below average. So I'm curious to see how he bounced back, what his adjustments are going to be. Obviously, it's a raw pitch package, but I feel like the swing's a little long. I don't know. Let's see what they have for swing length here. Do we have anything on his swing? I'm going to go look at his swing metrics for a second. Because this is a guy like they have to hit on a guy like this. This is like a huge prospect. They paid him a lot of money. They called him up in his first full season. For me, Jack Caglione's got to hit. They got to hit on this guy, or it's going to set them back a little bit. All right, let's go for a minimum 100 swings. And then we're going to look for Caglione. This is a funny question because right now it's actually a joke to even compare them because Kurtz has already figured it out. He's basically young Jim Thome. But that's not to say Jack can't make a comeback in this department. He's more talented in some of the other tools, speed and things like that. Now, defensively, Jack didn't show any value this year at all either. But, you know, there's still plenty of time. I say all that to say still plenty of time for this one to be sorted out a little differently. All right, here he is. Let me click his little visual here. All right, so bat speed we know is good. I'm actually a little surprised that the attack angle is only 9 degrees, so a little more flat than I would have thought, considering this is a guy who's going to want to get the ball in the air. Attack direction, 4 degrees pull. I think that he would probably be a little better being 4 degrees oppo, personally. That would keep him more on fastball timings. Swing path, 29 degrees. It's relatively average, but again, a little more flat. In a way, I actually don't mind that, because I think it's going to give him a chance to make the adjustment to handle high four-seamers. He might have a little more versatile swing than if he was super scoopy. But at the same time, the results haven't been there, so we'll see. Now I'm also going to go to actual bat tracking because I want to see his bat speed versus bat length, like swing length, which is, to me, you know, you could talk to hitters and they might disagree with me, but to me, I've been looking at this data a little bit. If you can combine big-time bat speed with a small swing length, then you're in a good spot. Okay, so 7.6 inches of swing length. That's a little bit too high. He'd like to lower that down to like the low 7.2, 7.2, 7.3. Anything he can get closer down to 7, that would play a lot better. So I think maybe that's what he's dealing with a little bit. It's a little too much of a swing, too much of a load, too much of a long swing, I should say. And ultimately, that probably is costing him some whiff. And, you know, big league pitchers are so good at making you start early on that fastball, and then you're kind of screwed on the off-speed pitches. So, I don't know. Well, I'm very curious to watch Jack Caglione here in really year number 1, but year number 2 that we see him. All right, there's also Jonathan India, who came over from the Reds in the Brady Singer trade. He's been a little disappointing overall. And then you got Massey, Rave, and Isbell, who have been there now for a little bit, especially Massey and Isbell. And, you know, they've hung around on the roster, but they haven't exactly been superstar talent, you know, in terms of results either. So, I don't know. I think they're largely going to run this back. I do see some room for a righty impact bat, if they want to go crazy, could really help this team. And then, yeah, this was just mentioned by Dan, Carter Jensen. Now, this is interesting. You're gonna find this interesting about Carter Jensen. I saw a plot here, and I talked about it for a hot second on the stream yesterday. Basically, people look this guy on where is it? Not this one. It's this one. People looked at swing characteristics and modeled those in expected WOBA by swing characteristics, an actual WOBA. And you go look up here in the top right corner. Aaron Judge is far away, number 1. But look who's right next to him, Carter Jensen. Now, we don't have a ton of data yet on Carter Jensen in the real deal, but I thought that was fascinating, right? He's right up there next to Judge. So, being a catcher, 3rd rounder, 22.4 already in the big leagues, Makes me curious a little more about Carter Jensen. And he's a catching prospect, which is interesting because Salvi just got that. Salvi just got that little extension. But dude, look at the expected numbers in the short sample. It's only 60 at bats. But dude, red in every single category. The only thing he's slightly below average in is whiff. So I'm very fascinated to watch Carter Jensen hit a little more this year. Let's watch him hit a nuke. Curious to see what this swing looks like. This is a 482-foot home run. Are you shitting me? Oh, top of the zone too, just demolished. He hit it out of the whole ballpark. So that's a good swing right there. Let's see this home run. And then I want to look at his bat tracking metrics. Like, what are we looking at with Carter Jensen? And how excited should I be? Man, little line drive piece. He hit that at 111, so doing a lot of things right off the rip. All right, let's go look at his bat tracking metrics. Now we need to drop the minimum to 10 swings. Update. All right, Carter Jensen. So above average bat speed and below average and above average in terms of having a small swing length. I love this combination. 6.9 feet on the swing length, but then also 74.8 on the bat speed. That's a great combination. When you're shorter to the ball, you don't have this big long swing and this big long load bogging you down, and you're coming with that much velocity, you're going to have a better chance to make more hard contact. And when you make hard contact, it's going to be really hard because bat speed plays. There's no way around it. Bat speed is basically the manifestation of power, right? So really good place to be. I don't know much about his bat path. So now it makes me want to go look at it, though. Because now this guy's got me fascinated. If anytime your swing's going to be modeled right up there near Judge, that's an exciting place to be, right? Judge just so far ahead of the pack. All right, so there's no visual, but we can see attack angle 4 degrees. So that's pretty flat, actually. That's interesting. Attack direction 1 degree oppo, which I like. Hits the ball way out in front of the plate. And 27. So he's a little flatter, which means he can catch up to the fastballs, which is what we saw him hitting that high fastball there when we saw it. So that was pretty cool. And anyway, now we know a little bit more about Carter Jensen, and he might be a big impact bat, but we're going to have to watch it play out. There's also Nick Lofton, Tyler Tolbert, Darian Blanco. So the bench is kind of probably up for grabs. But the Royals are a very homegrown, generally oriented organization. I do think they have room for a serious right-handed bat. And if they did plug a right-handed bat into this team, whether it's at DH or in the outfield, left or center, I think this team their ceiling could really rise a lot offensively. Garcia, Witt, Pasquatch, Salvi, Cags, that's a lot of talent, 1 through 5. You throw a 6th guy in there with a lot of talent, not to mention maybe this Carter Jensen fellow. You might have a tough lineup to get around in that AL Central. All right, let's look at the pitching. Cole Reagan's coming back off injury. He'll be the top guy. Waka has been consistent as heck for a while. Bubic looked great. I've heard some talk about him getting traded before he hits free agency. That could net them something. Lugo, quintessential innings eater at this point. And then Noah Cameron, who came up and looked really good. So this is not a bad rotation. Reagan's, I guess, is the ace. I'd like to see them go big for a starter, honestly. I think it would be really good if they could. I mean, if they would spend the money and go 1 big bat, right-handed, and 1 big pitcher, this would push their ceiling up a lot. I think they have a decent floor. I think they'll be at least a 500 team again with this current roster. But I'd like to see them push a little harder for that division, if possible. Because I kind of like that rotation, but I could see it being a little bit even better than that. All right, bullpen. Got the wild thing, Carlos Estevez. Still closing, Urseg, Schreiber, Clark, Zerpa. This is a good bullpen, too. Very, very versatile. Righties, lefties, hard throwers, side armors, and Schreiber. I got no problem with this bullpen, and I'm sure they're going to use a lot of depth guys as well. So back-to-back teams, because this is the Central Division that probably aren't going to spend a lot, but I would expect maybe a little bit more in that department out of the Royals. And I would like to see them doing that. I would like to see them do that. Latin Ruben says Helsley has KC vibes. I think he's going to actually be, he's going to have a lot of teams in on him. It's going to be curious to see how he's actually valued and where he goes. But yeah, that would be interesting. Woodruff ended up taking the qualifying offer. So Nick, he went back to the Brewers. I would have liked Woodruff on this squad. He would have been a good one. I don't know. Let me try to look a little bit at the, where's the free agents? Free agent tracker. All right, all batters. So first, let me try to pinpoint a righty that I would like. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a DH type or an outfield type. You know, Bader's not a bad fit, but his offense probably wouldn't be as good there. Gino Suarez is not a horrible look looking at this. He's not going to play the infield for them, maybe more of a DH. That might hurt them a little bit. I could see Ryan O'Hearn being a fit, but he's left-handed. You know, a sneaky one, and I don't know if they'll do it. They don't have a history of signing guys like this, but Marcell Ozuna could be a big upgrade at the DH spot. Although maybe they're planning on running Salvi through the DH spot a lot if they're going to play Carter Jensen, so you want a little more of an outfielder. You know, Miguel Andujar was sneaky pretty effective on offense last year. Polanco's an option. I could see Ref Snyder being a sneaky right-handed option. So these two guys, Andujar, Ref Snyder, I could see. Maybe even an Austin Hayes if you're buying into that. But yeah, I'm looking for a righty bat, you know, medium level salary who can have a little bit of an impact on this squad. And I guess DH maybe is not the best idea because you're going to probably have to play Salvi and maybe a little bit of Carter Jensen as well. So anyway, interesting to look at. Where are they at in terms of the prospects? Now somebody noted that these prospect lists are pretty bad on this website, but you see Caglione, Carter Jensen right at the top, Noah Cameron, all three of those guys are on the roster. And then there's some younger guys coming up behind them. Yeah, Ref Snyder kind of makes sense to me a little bit, to be honest with you, Dan. I don't know. I feel pretty good about that. All right, I don't really have much else to add on the Royals. I think they were a fun team to look at, but, I mean, I just have no idea what they're going to do. I don't think anybody does. And unfortunately, this division, it's a little harder with some of these clubs to envision the big signing, so it's not as exciting, if that makes sense. All right, moving on to the Tigers. Tigers had an interesting playoff run. They ended up losing in a marathon game to the Mariners. I thought it was impressive that they bounced back from the season collapse and then go ahead and beat the Guardians in their series in the wild card series and get themselves a date with Seattle. They played just as good at Seattle that round. Fell just a hair short, but overall they had a good season. I think Hinch is a good manager in terms of mixing and matching, but I do think they have some roster limitations. All right, here are their free agents. Gleyber Torres, he actually took the qualifying offer, so now they're paying $22 million next year as they retained Gleyber. They're also going to lose Finnegan and Paddock, who didn't appear in the playoffs. Nito came back there on a minor league deal. Rafael Montero, Seawald, so that's 4 pitchers right there. And then Alex Lang. Alex Lang got $9 million. There's no way. 900,000 probably. I'm not reading that right, am I? Yeah, 900K. Okay. That was an interesting move by the Royals. That was one of their early strikes. Former closer for the Tigers, which is interesting. Urquidy, Manuel Margot, Canely, Cobb. So there's a lot of talent coming off this roster. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Finnegan does not have a QO. No QO for Finnegan. And Arcane is saying Bregman is a perfect fit for the Tigers. Now, a lot of people have been saying that for a while. Obviously, there was a relationship with Hinch going back to the Houston days with Alex. And I can see it, but I do think this ballpark is not necessarily made for Alex. It's a little big. He likes a short left field. That's where his power is. I still think they should be in on him, but I think it's a little bit of an interesting fit ballpark-wise. I'd be curious if they change their valuation on him and if they're a little more desperate or not. So, all right, let's look at it. Colt Keith, who's a guy that they extended pre-MLB. He's been better in the second halves. He's generally been rough in the first halves. He's penciled in. Gleyber Torres, Kerry Carpenter, who we love, and honestly, I'd like to see him get more at-bats. I don't like that they platoon him so much. He's one of their upside guys. I like to see him get some more left-on-left at-bats. That's just my opinion. Riley Green, who continues to improve every year. Torkelson was really good this past year early on. And then you got Wensil Perez, McKinstry, who was solid. Dingler, who won the Gold Glove, somewhat controversially over Kirk, but is a heck of a defender. And then Parker Meadows. Like, this is a team that kind of was running through the Central most of the year, but they can upgrade this. They can upgrade this a lot. I do think Glaber taking that $22 million salary hurts their flexibility a little bit for this season. They have probably one big bullet to shoot if they want to go high end. Somebody's floating this Buxton idea. I love that, but I find it hard to believe that the Twins would trade Buxton to a division rival. Also, the Buxton thing's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Twins, you know. But Buxton, center field, they definitely could upgrade their outfield. Dan O'Max asking, is there a center fielder out there for the Tigers to get? So, okay, let's go take a look at the outfielders and who could potentially impact them. Because right now they're running a Riley Green in left, Wenzel Perez in right, and Parker Meadows in second. So center field or right field seems pretty fair. All right, well, we're going to go... We're just going to go... We'll look at all three of them. All right, here's the outfielders on the market. Belly would be an interesting fit. Probably be surprised. Tucker, that's not happening. Okay, Bader. Bader is a good fit to patrol that center field. I could actually see it. That could be a decent fit. They're pretty left-handed. Get another righty in there. Mullins, do you buy low on Mullins? Good defender. Had an awful time in New York. And I think other than that, they're probably shopping in a lot of this same category as these other dudes. There's some interesting bounce back and guys you could dream on in here. You know, Hayes, Andahar, Starling Marte, like, do you buy into it? He's 37. Probably don't want him playing every day. Kepler came alive late in the year with Philly. I don't know if you trust him in man center anymore. Tommy Pham's been on every team, so you can't rule him out. Jesse Winker, we haven't seen him in a while. I mean, Kiké. So I don't know. They don't have a clear, in my mind, person to go after here, but they'll grab another outfielder, probably right-handed, I would imagine. Bader's not a bad fit. It's interesting if they would go after him or not. I don't know. Rudolph's saying Starling Marte, but 37 years old. Not sure that's what the Tigers front office is going to go for. I'd be a little surprised by that if that's the direction they went. All right, prospect-wise, Jackson Jobe, unfortunately, got hurt. Is not going to impact this team right now, which sucks because they could use him in the rotation for sure. Max Clark, one of the most famous prospects, obviously, very famous kid. He's going to impact this team at some point, especially defensively, and we'll see how his hitting progresses, but he's super fast. Maybe we'll see him late in the year. McGonigal is a guy that people have been really huge on, and I'm curious to watch more. I think he's up there challenging Connor Griffin now from one of the top guys. So they got to feel good. You know, Troy Melton came up. He looked great. We'll talk about the pitching in a while. You know, they have Jace Jung. Bryce Rainier is a prospect I liked a lot in the draft this year. I actually kind of like a lot of these dudes that are listed. So Tigers window might be a little more open, but the elephant in the room is once we get here to the pitching staff, Tarek Skubal, best pitcher in the world, right? Everybody thinks that they got a chance to trade him, but I really hope they don't trade him for their sake because their rotation is, quite frankly, not playoff quality without Skubal. You saw it this year. They didn't really trust Mize to throw more than a few innings at a time. Flaherty, same deal. Reese Olson, same deal. Troy Melton, they liked, but he was kind of like, you know, called up in some tough spots, but showed well, and I think he'll get a shot in the rotation. Like, they have enough guys where the rotation's on the upswing, but without Jobe, and you know, Skubal's so far head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, you see the strategy they've used in the postseason the last 2 years, which is basically Skubal pitch as long and hard as you possibly can, and as much as we can ride you, and then we'll mix and match with the other, you know, 13 or 12 or 13 pitchers on the roster from there, and we'll kind of just have everybody chip in. But Skubal is going to have to carry us the whole way. It's just not a good formula. It's one guy, and if you go the whole way, I mean, you can't expect him probably at this point to throw 50 innings in the postseason. A lot of guys don't do that anymore, and you've been riding him all year. So I don't know. The Skubal thing looms large. If they do trade him, I would expect them to go for major league ready pieces because, as I mentioned, they're still in contention here. This division's eminently winnable, as they know, and they have some good prospects coming. So this is the issue, though. You can't let him walk for nothing. So look, I think you start the season with Skubal and you see who's desperate at the break, and he's quite frankly, one of the biggest postseason starting pitchers that could be on the move since like a CC Sabathia situation years ago, when he went from Cleveland to Milwaukee and just took over down the stretch. And at that point, you can rip some big prospects away. I mean, you look at that trade. I mean, of course, this is a really long time ago. You know, he fetched at the time Matt Laporta, who was one of the biggest prospects in the game, Michael Brantley, and a bunch of others. So you can get huge hauls at the deadline when there's a team that wants to go all in for an ace. And I think maybe that's where I'd be pointed. You know, for Skubal, it'd be, are we legitimately in the conversation with him and we should keep him and try to win it? Or should we cash him in at the deadline? Because you can't let him walk and just get a qualifying offer. That would be a bummer. All right, in the bullpen. Now, the bullpen, man, they have mixed and matched a ton the last few years in this bullpen. From Foley being gone off the roster, who was closing at one point, to Lang, who was closing at one point. But they're a very modern bullpen situation. A lot of rinse and repeat, a lot of pitch to you're ineffective and swap you out for a new guy, a lot of righty-lefty matchups, a lot of different arm angles, a lot of different things. And it makes sense for a mid-market team, and that's the way AJ wants to run it. So Will Vest, who has been fantastic, hopefully he can stay on his upward trajectory as the closer. Then they got Hannafy, Holton, Herder. Those two lefties have been sneaky. Kaider Montero, who's a starter, but also a swingman, very valuable considering he's on the league minimum and he's going to pitch a lot of innings for them. And then these other guys, Brisky, Horn, Lee. You know, I could see them going for 1 or 2 relievers this offseason, and they should. And then the Skubal thing is the big elephant in the room. And then offensively, yeah, I think it's an outfield, center field, right field, right-handed bat. I think is what they'd be looking for. Those are my thoughts on the Tigers at the moment. Is mid to upper level free agent outfielder. Try to get as much as you can in a Skubal trade, and if you get overwhelmed, do it. If not, hold them till the deadline and kind of run it with these starters. And then the bullpen, I think they'll get 1 or 2 to complement this group. They tend to do that. They know the value of their bullpen, and they also know that outside of Skubal, they don't cover a lot of innings. So yeah, I think they got a couple moves, but I like the fact that a lot of their prospects are upper level, getting close to the big leagues. That's exciting, and this is the team, you know, probably on the upswing, which is not something you would say about you know, a team willing to trade the Cy Young Award winner. So you don't usually see that. How do you ask Adam Ottavino questions on the live stream? Right here. Ask me a good question, and maybe I'll post it and answer it. That's it. Just put it in the chat. And Latin Ruben, I don't want Skubal to go to the Mets because he's definitely going to go to the open market next year. Yeah, it's a rental, and that's what makes it so hard to part with some of these pieces. You got to feel good about maybe acquiring him and extending him, maybe, if that's the route you go. But does Fangraphs track dry humping as an official stat? No. But let me tell you, this stuff does matter. This is where bullpen coaches come in. They got to understand when is too much out there and when does it matter. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with as well. Teams understanding how much extra throwing guys are doing in the bullpen that isn't getting counted. And then you wonder why everybody's hanging. So I don't know. Try not to dry hump too many guys if you can be a manager someday. All right, that's it for the Tigers. So center fielder, a couple bullpen pieces, figure out the Skubal stuff. No muss, no fuss. All right, Minnesota Twins is my next team. Now, this has been the most disappointing team in this division for the last few years. Ever since they got Correa and they had the combination of Royce Lewis, Buxton, Correa, I used to think, plus some of the pitching they had, I was like, this team should be the best team in this division. Unfortunately, they've been dog shit. 70 and 92 last year. Literally, you know, Rocco loses his job. They go on a full fire sale. The team is up for sale, it looks like. It's a kind of a sad situation because I felt like they were in a good spot. But let's review it anyway, and we'll kind of take a thought for a minute here on where they're headed. All right, Christian Vasquez, catcher, Michael Tonkin, righty, and Genesis Cabrera, who's a lefty reliever. Those are the only 3 free agents because they dumped everybody else. Varland and, man, you name it, they traded him. Duran, they've gutted their whole bullpen. Jax. So in a way, they're kind of in a full rebuild mode, but there's still some pieces here. So let's go through their lineup a little bit. All right, at the moment, the big dog, Byron Buxton, one of the best players in the game when healthy, which is the big asterisk because he's hardly ever healthy. They could get a lot for him. He's got a pretty good, somewhat friendly contract given his level of skill. You have to believe in his longevity, I guess, but let's look at Buxton. I mean, 878 OPS this year, 859 last year. He's been above average for his whole career in the outfield. The sprint speed is still in the prime, 100th percentile sprint speed. So he's doing it on both sides of the ball. He's just a fantastic player. 35 nukes this year, finally coming into his own. Let me go look at his, I want to look at him on reference just to take a look at his contract. And it was interesting, and this is what I alluded to before. At the All-Star, that's not him. At the All-Star game, people asked him about his no-trade clause, and he said, I'm a Twin, I'm riding with this club no matter what. But I don't think he realized the level of teardown that was about to take place. And I think now he's kind of regretting his choice on that a little bit, and I could see him maybe getting out of town. But all right, let's find the salaries. Here it is. So yeah, he's got 3 more years at a very reasonable $15 million a year. You could get a big package for Buxton, so it makes sense for them to move him if they're rebuilding and they're starting over. Oof, you want to talk about a guy that a lot of people would be in on? It would probably be this guy. You know, very hard to get an all-around player as good as Byron Buxton at that price in his prime years. Oof, I could see that being a major factor here. Major factor on this roster. So let's keep an eye on the Buxton situation as it progresses. Here's the rest of the current lineup. Larnick, Kiesel, who came up and looked good last year in the 3-hole. Wallner, you know, big power guy, a lot of swing and miss. Jeffers is a guy who I've always liked. I'm not sure how he played last year. Cody Clemens is more of a 4th outfielder. First base type, more of a, you know, not really outfielder, but more of a bench role. Royce Lewis. Now, Royce Lewis, also a guy that I feel like at times has been one of the tippy-top best players in the game. He was a 1-1 pick. He just struggled a lot last year. This is the worst he's ever looked, 671 OPS. And, you know, you look at the plate appearances per year. This has been the issue with him. Injuries. 239 and 23, only 325 and 24, and 403 and 25. And it's tough. It's tough to stay on your upward trajectory when you're always getting hurt. But I have to say, I love this kid. I know he's had a down year. I'd be kicking the tires on a buy low on Royce Lewis if I was somebody around the league. It's a little bit concerning that he's a dead pull guy. I wonder if that's been any different any other years. Pretty much the same, maybe a little bit more to center field in 23 when he was raking. But I don't know. All right, Royce Lewis. Yeah, everything backed up big time this year. I think there's some health-related stuff. I also don't love to see this. 3rd percentile in swing length, so it's a very long swing. Maybe there's some things in here in his game that actually are deteriorating and aren't as attractive, but I don't know. I just know a couple years ago we played this guy. He felt like the best player. Like he felt that freaking good. So Lewis and Buxton, often injured, huge upsides. How does Minnesota navigate that? Do they don't want to sell low on Lewis? They don't want to get in a situation where Buxton is driving this trade talk either with his no trade, and then you're looking at maybe cents on the dollar. So this is a little bit of a Twins issue. How are they going to deal with those 2 immense talents? All right, Brooks Lee is the shortstop. He was a first-round pedigree. Austin Martin, another first-round pedigree. Vanderbilt guy, came over from Toronto. So they have a lot of these young, athletic type, you know, somewhat all-around players, but nobody that's really established themselves except for a Buxton really in this lineup. Jackson just came over here from the Orioles, and then you got Julien, who looked incredible that first year, the French-Canadian, and then kind of fell off the cliff. There's also Ryan Creedler and James Outman, who came over from the Dodgers, who we thought was going to be big that first time, but that didn't really pan out. Okay, in the rotation, Pablo Lopez, who everybody loves, including me. Joe Ryan, who everybody should love, including me, but might be traded as he's just hitting his arb now, and I think you can get a big package probably for Joe Ryan. That would make a lot of sense for them. If you're trying to rebuild the roster with value, they have some big pieces. Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan. I think you could even get something for Bailey Ober because he's a very solid back of the rotation guy. And then I mentioned, obviously, the Buxton-Lewis dynamic as well, as maybe even a Ryan Jeffers could have some value around the league. So I would expect them to continue to evaluate these guys throughout the season, maybe move some more guys at the deadline unless they pop with a much better record than they're expecting. But, man, they got some talent here. Lopez, Ryan, Ober, I like those top three. Woods Richardson has been a little tantalizing as a player. I saw him throw a great game against the Yankees this year, but overall been a little bit disappointing. They'll keep cycling through that. And then in the bullpen, like I mentioned, they punted their top three guys out of their bullpen last year, and they're just going to do what everybody else does, just sort of mix and match out there in the bullpen. Just have just an army of hard throwers, different angles, and try to figure it out. Topa is a guy they got a while ago from Seattle, hasn't really impacted their club much, but he's a sinker guy. Funderburk, a lefty. Cole Sands looked good last year. They just got Orzi from Tampa. He's got a split. All these guys are guys, but this is not a win now situation necessarily with this roster, especially in the bullpen. So I think they won't spend anything in the bullpen unless it's low end in my mind. And then look out for them to be moving on from some of their big pieces. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of a disappointing team to look at because they seemed to have a lot of promise 2 years ago, and it just didn't go well. Walker Jenkins is the big prospect on this team, high school kid. So we'll see when he impacts. And yeah, that's kind of it. Kind of it on the Twins. I think the sale of the team kind of is the shadow hanging over everything. They just got Chris Shelton, or Shelton, is that his name? Derek Shelton as their manager, who was with the Pirates previously. So they're starting fresh. They're starting over. And as I mentioned, they have some pieces they could either try to win with or they could try to move on from. And it'll be interesting to see them navigate that. So that's it for the Twins. And we're going to head over to the last team. This is the White Sox. Now, the White Sox 2 years ago had the worst record in the history of the sport. Last year, they bounced back a little bit to go 60-102. So another horrible year, but a lot better. And I will say, before even looking at anything about the White Sox, I do love two things that they have going for them right away in their organization. Number one, Will Venable, I think, is a great up-and-coming manager. That's a great guy to have there. He was bench coach with the Red Sox when I was there. I played against him. I know him really well. Smart, great feel, great communicator, great people person. Very high on Will Venable. Also very high on Brian Bannister being their director of pitching. Brian Bannister was amazing with the Red Sox and with the Giants. So many people took the leap with Bannister, and now he's running the White Sox situation. This was the team I almost signed with last year in spring training, just based off the opportunity to potentially work with Bannister. So I'm big on those two factors. But other than that, they got a long way to go. And it's a little bit crazy because you would think, they're the team in the big city. They're the only team in the big city in this division. They should be a superpower. But Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't really spend like that. The biggest contract they've ever handed out was that Andrew Benintendi contract, which was like $75 million. But if I were this team, I'd be hoping, if I were a fan of this team, I'd be hoping for a sale and maybe a much more aggressive owner, because you would think with their level of revenue and their market size, they should be able to flex on everybody else in this division financially. All right, here are their current free agents. Tyler Alexander, Todd, goes by Todd for some reason. I've known him for a little bit when he used to be with the Tigers. Anyway, good dude, mustache. Martin Perez, former teammate of mine, he's gone. Clevinger's gone. Miguel Castro, a.k.a. Dominican Kevin Durant, is gone. Dan Altalavia is gone. And Josh Rojas is gone. So a couple veterans there, a couple utility types, nothing crazy. And this is the current lineup. Mike Talkman, my buddy who actually had a pretty good year last year for the White Sox. He's a Chicago area guy, so pretty cool they got to play for the Cubs and the White Sox. Kyle Teal came over in the Crochet trade. He looked to be really, really establishing himself last year. Looked pretty good. Colson Montgomery hit a whole gaggle of home runs. So they have a guy there, big pop, shortstop. Miguel Vargas came over from the from the Dodgers. Started off slowly, played a lot better last year. Then there's Benny right there. Benny's been, not as good as expected, but he's a contact hitter, decent defender. And then Luis Robert. Now, Luis Robert, it's just like they can't quit him. They can't quit him because he's that talented. Literally, probably a top, 10 physical talent in the game. But boy, it's been a while since we've seen the results on the field. 661 OPS this year, 657 and 24. But the reason why you don't want to give up is because look at that 2023. 38 nukes, 20 steals, 857 OPS. Plays great defense even when he can't hit. Look at that, 7 outs above average, 90th percentile sprint speed. But this is trending towards Luis Robert playing out his contract basically with the White Sox and them never getting anything out of him. I just continue to be surprised they haven't traded him yet or cashed in anything on Luis, because he is a very talented guy. He's kind of one of their big pieces. You go back and you look at his StatCast stuff over the years. I mean, the max EV is top of the scale. That shows you his strength, and the speed is also pretty much top of the scale. Shows you that. The defense never wavers. The arm. He's a true 5-tool guy. His swing's too long, and he doesn't make enough contact. But you can dream on it a little bit because he's shown flashes of it. 22 and 23 showed big-time flashes of it. Brett B's saying Luis Robert needs a change of scenery. That's what I keep thinking, but we haven't seen it yet. So guess we'll wait on it. Let's see if this is his furthest home run of the year, so I'm just curious. Ooh, came off of Fluharty tee. Hold on, let me back that up. Oh, baby. I mean, look, he's so tantalizing to watch. He's just a freak athlete, man. He just really is. He's a freak. So they have that. They have that a little bit. Man, what are we talking about here? We got a question in here. Can you please provide insights how coaches or analytic departments will leverage ABS data? Okay, I'll take a quick break from this to answer this question. The answer is I have no freaking idea what they're going to do, because at the end of the day, the game is still the exact same game minus the challenges. I do think overall players will be evaluated on their swing decisions and on their knowledge of the strike zone, and then maybe there'll be some recommendations made on how often a player can challenge or not challenge, and that's kind of the human side that will be evaluated. But the game is going to look exactly the same minus a few challenges a game, which are going to happen really quick like they used to happen in tennis. So I don't know about the data and how this is going to change too much. But we'll find out. Maybe there's applications that I'm not thinking of. So anyway, I tried to answer that, but I guess I don't really know the answer. All right, moving forward. They have some bench players. Oh wait, I didn't look through the rest of this. Cuero, who was, I think, the worst qualified catcher defensively last year, so that's a little bit of an issue between him and Corey Lee. They're not working with a great defensive batch, which to me is the ultimate force multiplier in the wrong direction with a bad team. Like if you have a bad team with a bad catcher and a lot of young pitchers, you're just not giving them any help to succeed. So you need to have a veteran catcher in there if you can. I know they tried Martin Maldonado for a while. That didn't really work, but I don't know. They need to figure out their catching situation for sure. Hello, I'm from San Felipe in the Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Thanks for hanging with us. Baseball League Cafe. All right. Let's check out their pitchers. Shane Smith, who they got in the Rule 5, ended up being great for them, so that's good. Davis Martin's an arm. Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon. They need to do a lot of work on this rotation. But the question is, like, do they feel like they're anywhere near competing, or are they just going to continue to spend nothing and just kind of go from there? Now, they do have a prospect that people keep mentioning, and it's this guy right here, Noah Schultz. To be honest, I haven't watched him a ton. They also have Hagen Smith coming, which is an interesting guy. Maybe I can pull up a YouTube video on Noah Schultz and get a little idea of what we're looking at here. That sound like a good idea for a second? Let me go to solo screen so you don't have to look at any ads while I do that. Noah Schultz. All right. Let's transition back here and let's watch some 2025 mid-season highlights from this lefty. Let's just see what we think, you know. All right, so it looks like it's a low slot, crossbody, punch-in tickets type of deal. Good breaking ball, more than likely. Not a great angle on any of those pitches, but I don't know. I like Funk. I like his size. I have to go check his numbers to see how dominant he's been, but yeah, you can tell. If this is their number one prospect and he's a lefty, between him and Hagen Smith, that's two big-ass lefties that they're going to add to the rotation soon with big upside. So curious to watch these guys develop. And believe me, if this guy debuts this year, you'll be getting a watching video on his debut, and I'll learn a lot more there when I get the data and see him in a big league stadium versus big league hitters. Fastball looks pretty good. Also looks like he's pitching with a lot of piss and vinegar, which I like. So I love it. I'd rather have more edge than none. That's like a slurve or a sleeper type. Let's go look at his numbers a little bit. All right, so last year between AA and AAA, interesting year. Wow. 17 starts, 73 innings, 76 strikeouts, but 45 walks. So that's a little bit of the red flag of why people were probably a little skeptical. Hey, buddy. What's this? Pretzel for me? Yeah. Thank you. High five. Love you. Thanks, buddy. Almost done. Still rolling. Chicago definitely has a type. 6'10"? Is he 6'10"? Is that facts? 6'10"! Okay, so I knew he looked big, but I didn't realize he was 6'10". 6'10", 240. So get him over the plate. Get him over the plate. We got a Randy Johnson. That's the lazy comp here, but Randy Johnson. And you know what? Let's look at a YouTube quickly of Hagen Smith too, because he's similar. He's similar for sure. Hagen Smith highlights. I'll watch his minor league highlights rather than his Arkansas highlights. Oh, more? Thank you. All right, so he's got little T-Rex arms. He's built like a linebacker too, but I don't know, kind of a weird arm action. Be definitely curious to see this. Two lefties with a little velo. Hopefully they can, you know, like I mentioned Bannister. That's a very key part of this scenario. You got a great guy to potentially work with these two dudes in player development between Schultz and Hagen Smith and see if they can't make a two-headed, left-handed monster combination. More pretzels. Thank you, Pop. Thank you, buddy. What a great kid you are. Oh, did you slip?
Yes.
You okay?
Yeah. Mommy.
You can get up. Up. Good boy. All right, well, now I'm eating pretzels, but yeah, he's got some deception, no doubt about it. And Hagen Smith struck out a billion dudes in college, so. Also, do you see how bad that lighting was in the minor leagues? Yeah, Hagen is rigid. But no doubt he's got deception.
Daddy.
The way he kind of short arms that ball. Dude, you're giving me all your pretzels. Thank you. I love you. Anyway, these are two guys that are big for their future. So we'll go ahead and we'll wait and see, right? We'll make that a wait and see. But two big lefties, Teal, Montgomery, the other Montgomery, Braden Montgomery, who they got in a trade, I believe, as well. They have some prospects, so I think they're kind of in one more year, kind of get a lot of their guys to the big league mode, and then maybe you go spend some money, which you would think they would do because they're in freaking Chicago. They have money, you would think. But I don't know. Nobody seems to go to that ballpark unless they're winning, so I don't know. Maybe the revenue's down a little bit. Hard to say. And then the bullpen, look, I mean, they're never going to spend any money on this until they're a contender either, so don't expect much. I know they were poking around with guys like me on minor league deals last year. So expect more of that. Veteran minor league deals to maybe have a veteran out there in the bullpen, in the closer role or something, but not a whole lot. They did just trade from Chris Murphy from the Red Sox, who's a pretty good dude that I met last year in spring training. Guy who got Tommy John last year. Mike Vassell kind of stepped up. Yeah, look at all these pretzels this dude gave me. But I don't know, man. This AL Central, what can you really say about it? 5 teams that should, 5 teams in this AL Central right here. Guardians, Royals, Tigers, Twins, White Sox. No team wants to jump ahead and be the big bad wolf in this division. They're all content to kind of duke it out in the mid-level, not spend a lot of money, make some moves here and there. But this division's winnable. There's at least 3 teams that are going to come into this season in the Guardians, Royals, and Tigers, believing that they're going to win it. The Twins, if they keep their current roster, they could maybe think that too, but they're probably going to make some trades. So I don't know. It's interesting division. There's not as much pressure because you don't have like a bid bag Dodgers, Mets, or Yankees. Thank you for the orange now. You're the best. Thank you. They don't have the big bad team in their division spending all the money, but they should be spending more money, and I'd love to see the White Sox become more of a power. I think back to 05. I mean, granted, that's 20 years ago, but 05 White Sox were a beast. 4 stud starters, Konerko, Jermaine Dye, Magli Ordonez, just so many good players. So I've always been a fan of the White Sox when they're doing well, but they just don't seem to try that hard. So I guess they're in a wait and see mode for the most part. I guess that's it for my AL Central. So I don't really have anything else to add to that. We're probably going to wrap up the show in a minute. Let me get into...
Daddy.
Thank you, buddy. We'll get into a couple things in the chat, and then I'll say goodbye for today. I thought it was a pretty good show. I mean, the Kiké thing was great, minus the frog stuff. All right, here we go. Will we look at prospects more in depth soon? Yes, 100%. 100% we're going to do prospects. Also, I'm going to be on the hunt for more prospect data. I know there's some that's out there and exists, but yeah, I mean, we're going to do much more prospect coverage. But we got to get through all the divisions. We got to do Hall of Fame talk. There's a bunch of things that I want to do. Obviously, a lot more guests, but we have a lot of winter still to go. So no doubt about it, we'll be covering the prospects. And there's some exciting ones in this division, in the Central. He just keeps giving me oranges. Back and forth, back and forth. All right, what else is in here? The AL Central could be dangerous, but they need to make bigger moves. I would agree with that. And right now, they're just really not. And it's the Midwest, but there's no excuse for the White Sox since they're in Chicago. That's my point. They're the only team in the big market. The rest of them, I mean, Minneapolis is a small market. Detroit, relatively small. Kansas City, tiny. And Cleveland, tiny. So, I don't know. The White Sox, if I were them, I'd be looking to flex my advantage on them before maybe the whole rules change or something. Here's a good question. Does bullpen availability reports depend solely on pitch counts and feel? Are teams adopting tools like Pulse and Arm Care? Yes. Pulse is used, especially in rehabs, driveline Pulse, Arm Care. I mean, we do a ton of measuring ranges of motion and strength in all different planes, IR, ER, lots of different things. Teams use a lot of that. They use biomechanic data to try to help. But at the same time, there's still no... It's still incomplete. Ultimately, the picture's incomplete. You can't just look at the data and know everything about that player because you don't know how they take care of themselves when they go home and when they're out of your sight. You don't know how seriously they're taking care of themselves in the training room when they're doing things on their own, unless it's all monitored by certain trainers. And also, I can speak from experience. Like, I've had days where the feel isn't what's real. Like, you might feel terrible, but you're measuring great. On a lot of those metrics or vice versa. And it's sometimes, I don't know, I do think feel is still a big part of it. There's still a lot of art to this. And again, you got to spread it around a little bit so you have more guys available later in the year. And there's a little bit of an art to it, but I think it also helps to have such a good open lines of communications with your guys. There's a lot of variables, but you got to consider them all. Can't make too many assumptions individual level. All right, what else we got here? Fangraphs is the only place I've seen that has enough in-depth data on prospects. Okay, I'm gonna putz around a little bit so I can figure that out before we get there. Is this show weekdays? This show is right now Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the off season. In the season, it's Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. No Sunday. But off season, we're just doing 3 days a week. There might be some after school specials that we put in there, but I'll announce those ahead of time. So anyway, that's about it. There's also a new audio version of the conversation. So like, I just strip out all the conversation audio from the live streams of the guys I've had on. Today was my 4th guest of the offseason, Kiké, and then I put those onto a audio podcast. You can find it, Baseball and Coffee Conversations. It's out there. I've only put up the Pete Alonso one so far, but we'll check it out. Next guests coming up, we're trying to figure that out. We got Thanksgiving week coming up here, so I'm not sure how next week's going to play out, but I have yeses from, Garrett Cole, Jamison Tyone, Brandon Nimmo, Garrett Whitlock, JD Martinez, tons of guys. Literally, like, I've gotten yeses from so many people. It's just a matter of scheduling them all out. A lot of people like to say yes, and then it's hard to actually pin down a time for them. But I'll make sure we know what we're doing, and if not, we'll just do more breakdowns of divisions and other topics. And no matter what, I'll be on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. All right, let's see what else we got here. Well, who would you guys like to see? Who would you like to watch? Who would you like to watch next? Now, I don't like to do only pitchers. There could be hitters as well. I was thinking of maybe doing more of a deeper dive watching Nick Kurtz, like a long stretch of when Nick Kurtz kind of figured it out. I was thinking he could be a possibility. Pitching side, I was thinking a little bit more of pitching side. I was thinking a little bit more of maybe like actually looking at that Aroldis Chapman hit and no hitter, where I think he got like 45 guys in a row without a hit. So I don't know, a lot of different ideas. There's probably some performances from the regular season I'm missing. There might even be some debuts. Like I don't have Chase Burns' debut or something like that into a video. I might go back in time and do that. But I'd love to hear your suggestions. You can drop them in the comments. You can drop them on my Discord. Look for the Baseball and Coffee Discord if you want to hop in there, or you can email me. I don't know. We're going to figure out a lot, but I don't know. He's a beast, Nick Kurtz.
Daddy.
What is this? Is this a Labubu shorts or something?
Yeah.
Thank you, baby. All right, I think he's ready for me to round to say goodbye. Kurtz is crazy good, but I don't contribute anything to any ballpark factors with him. He had a big ballpark, but this guy is leaving every ballpark, pole to pole. I think the big Amish is legitimately a young Jim Tomei. Like I am that bought in on him. And after I talked to Lawrence Butler, he's another one that I'm going to get on the thing too. Lawrence Butler, he was basically like, this guy is a monster. And we have him on the stream quite a bit. Nick Kurtz, like when he has his 4 home run day, like I've watched all those at bats and a bunch of other ones when he started to pop this year. But yeah, he's a guy that we could potentially go look at as well. Nick Kurtz. Also, there's some questions about, there was an Edwin Diaz, wasn't Edwin going to come on?
Daddy.
So Edwin's been busy for the last few weeks and, getting his MLB awards and doing all the cool stuff that guys do. But eventually we're going to get Edwin on. I'm waiting on him, basically. Bader's another yes. DJ LeMahieu, Charlie Blackmon. I mean, I have a lot, but we'll see. We're just going to have to mix and match as we get through. Alvarez, I'd love to get on. Maybe I should reach out to Alvy, actually. He'd be a fun guest to talk to. We already talked to Pete. So Pete's in there. That was, I believe, episode 109, live stream, or 108, live stream 108. You'll see it on the thumbnail if you want to go check that out. Discord link is in, it's a link in off my page, my bio on my YouTube page. So check that out. We've had pretty good stuff in there.
Daddy.
And all of that.
Daddy. 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 Daddy.
Link works weirdly in your YouTube chat, but if you copy it in your browser. I don't know. Well, you could find it. Baseball and Coffee on Discord. You'll find me. Yeah, Blackmon will be great if we get Chuck on. Honestly, one of the smartest players I ever played with. So he'd be great. Bassett's another one. We're gonna get Bassett Seabass as well. So just stay tuned. You're gonna get plenty of guests over time this off season, and we'll just go from there. All right, I'm gonna hop off. It's been a good day. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the Discord and again on Monday when we come back. Tomorrow I turn 40, which is weird, a little trippy, but. Anyway, happy birthday to me, I guess. And I'll see you guys next time on Baseball and Coffee. Hope you enjoyed this episode today. Don't be afraid to tell your friends. Hit me with all the likes you possibly can. And I'll see you guys on Monday at 10 a.m. Right here, same time, same place. All right. See you guys later. Peace out.